How many teams do you think are above the 500 mark?
In the National League?
Yeah, above 500. More wins than losses if you're new to sports and you're listening right
and
now.
And there's 16 teams or 15?
There is 15 per side.
Still just 15.
Just making sure.
Above 500, how many teams?
I'm going to say 7.
Erik Kratz, you're up. You knew the answer?
I didn't, but I went through in my head and figured it out.
Oh, really? Okay, this guy, Mister. I'm so good at Scrabble.
The only reason I know that is because, or that I was close. I was going to say 5, but I was close because everybody's been hating on the Phillies. Oh, they've had the easiest schedule. They don't play teams that are over 500. There aren't any. There aren't any to play.
That is wild. 4 teams. Can you name them for us real quick?
Phillies.
Dodgers, Braves,
Yep.
Phillies, and Brewers.
That's it.
Wow.
Nobody else above 500. It's June 5th
that's crazy.
as we do this show live.
Oh, Lord.
Please subscribe.
Oh, Lord.
I'll tell you what, that's not good.
Parody. That's what we want in baseball, isn't it? Parody.
Parody is fun.
Parody.
It is fun, but I think it also points to how easy it is to take advantage of this league if you really put your all into every facet of your organization.
Wow.
Does that make sense? Like look at Kansas City. They've been building up for a while. They didn't get the names that they wanted. They went after it a little bit this offseason. I know they had a tough loss with Lugo on the mound last night against the Guardians, but boom, all of a sudden they're well above the 500 mark. I get it. They're in the AL Central, but you could make that case in the NL Central, can't you? Some of those teams could get a little more aggressive and be a powerhouse year after year in the NL Central.
There's only 7 in the American League too.
Yeah, there's some good parity there. I mean, both sides, you have teams that are
half.
So my point is there's only 5 really bad teams, and you know that they're not making it. And then everyone else is within 5 games of a wild card spot. 5 or 6, right? Like the Astros are 28-34. They're 6 games away from a playoff spot. The Toronto Blue Jays at times feel like a mess. They got smacked by the Orioles last night. They're 28-32. They're 5 games away from a wild card spot. All of these teams are like one little 7 out of 8, hot week and a half, and they'd be in a wild card spot.
Agreed.
The Mets, 4 games away from a wild card spot. Just throwing that out there.
That's incredible to say that. How bad they are. Right now, how bad they are. That's incredible.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So everyone's got a chance, MLB. And we will be in Vegas Thursday and Friday, live shows, same time, just all 3 of us together. Kratz, myself, Jason Kipnis joining the party. He is one of our poker pros. Kratz is one too. Yes, Kratz has his gorgeous clear trophy from winning the online BetMGM tournament. Very nice.
Hey, just be careful with him. Atlantic City, he's cool. But in Vegas, if you see him looking away like this, he's getting the yips. He wants to go play. So
yeah.
So get him to answer questions a lot so he keep his mind off of things.
Okay.
He froze.
Bad connection.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
I do want to play poker with Todd Father at some point. I was thinking about this on my drive over to Studio Todd Father. I was like, we got to get him in one of these. I want to see what it's like.
I'll get my cronies, you get yours, and we'll have a good time.
We got to do something.
No. That's like messing with Tommy Pham. I ain't messing with your cronies playing poker.
Yeah, all of a sudden you'll be like, wait, he just took the deed to my house.
Yeah, no. Oops.
But yeah, we're excited for that. So
Todd would have the first ever 5-ace hand. I'd be like, huh? You had 5 aces? How'd that work?
Yep, move on.
Keep moving.
If you're out in Vegas, let us know.
Yeah.
And
go out and see the boys. See the boys.
We're playing in the big BetMGM poker tournament out there at Aria. We're going to do our show live from Mandalay Bay. So if you're in the area, hit us up. Send a DM on Instagram. Hey, I'm in the area, and I'll tell you where we're going to be so we can say hello. Let's charge the damn mound.
Charging the mound.
I felt like I was fumbling my words yesterday when I was talking about Astros pitching injuries. Do you remember this?
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Kratz
You
knows.
were.
So I was like, Javier, Urquidy, what? Both, unfortunately, are done for the season with elbow injuries.
Wow.
You caused that for Javier. It was not announced yesterday. Urquidy was announced yesterday that he was going to be having elbow surgery. You announced it. It was breaking news without knowing it was breaking news by you.
Or maybe I did know something.
Oh.
Ooh, you and Chandler Rome are on point.
No, I didn't know anything. I just fumbled two
Well,
solid pitchers for the
didn't-
Astros for a while.
You
and
didn't really fumble it because you were right.
You're right. This sucks. This is a big blow. I mean, this is two guys in the rotation that have been members of this rotation for years that will be out for the rest of the year and puts more pressure on the young dudes like Hunter Brown to perform again. But, man, they're going through it right now.
Yeah, this is not good. This is it's trouble for the Astros. I mean, these are two really solid cogs that they have on this squad. These young guys, I mean, you think of Ronel Blanco, he's doing phenomenal.
Mhm.
The other guys, hit or miss. So the guys are going to have to step up. And I don't know if they have that Luis heel in them. I mean, if you want the truth, a guy that didn't know what to do out of spring training, didn't know what we're going to get, and now he's turned into like a number one for the Yankees. So do they have that guy? I'm not seeing it right now. So this is trouble. They're 7 games out right now. I think their focus needs to be on winning some games, but at the same time, come trade deadline, Scotty, we'll see what happens.
They've never disappointed at the trade deadline. I think so many times following what the Yankees do, people think, oh, the Yankees are going to go get this guy. The Yankees are going to make this splash. The Astros do make a splash. But the question is the hole that they've dug themselves. And we just talked about some parity. American League's a little bit tougher to get back into the wild card race. But can you get back in the wild card race essentially right now with Ronel Blanco and Justin Verlander? Justin Verlander is going to give you a 3.5 ERA. I think he's a tick above that right now. But those are your two guys. Hunter Brown's proven he's inconsistent. He's shown flashes of awesomeness. Urquidy, he would have been sent back down had other guys not made it back from these injuries. But now he had a good last start. So is that what you're going to get? You're leaning on too many hopefuls instead of like that solid core of a rotation that this team was built on. Hey, who knows? The Astros make moves. That's what they do. And if Dana Brown says they're in, I believe him, they're in.
So if I take out Verlander as their one, you have Framber, Hunter Brown, Ronel Blanco, Spencer Urquidy, that 4. Or when they're healthy, would you take Javier Urquidy, Luis Garcia, and Lance McCullers Jr.? Those 4 are all on the shelf for them.
Easy.
Yeah, the last
Right.
one.
So my question is, you're never going to be able to totally pinpoint how problems like this pop up, but do you think a team like this takes a hit with pitchers in their rotation because they consistently pitch an extra month, or it's a waste of a conversation?
Waste of a conversation.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Great.
I would say waste of a conversation because of the fact that I talked to a doctor, a doctor in the big leagues, that said, why are innings limits like a thing? Why did it become a thing? Do you remember when we started talking about who the first person that started talking about it and it became mainstream innings limits? Do you guys remember? And it was eye-opening to me, but he was like, there's really no innings limits. Do you guys remember where the first time you heard it was?
Dr. Andrews? I don't know.
Scott Boras, Steven Strasburg. The post-Tommy John surgery, he opted out of playing in the playoffs like a college football player. Nobody before that. He goes, and this guy was in Major League Baseball before this moment, And since then, he said Boris started this innings limit stuff. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, he threw too many because of the playoffs. He didn't throw enough in the minor leagues. He's got this innings limit. And teams started to like adopt this without any medical background because of what was said and the choice that was made to hold Steven Strasburg out of the playoffs. Remember that. He was held out of the playoffs because his agent said he had pitched too much after a post-surgery year.
The Scott Boras effect.
It was
just it sounds silly.
All the fact checking since I talked to this guy about this, I have not found anything else before that. It is crazy to me. And I remember thinking it because I was still playing at the time. Like, you may never make the playoffs again. I remember thinking Strasburg may never make the playoffs again. Obviously, ultimately, he pitched and his team to the World Series. But that could have been his only shot. On that team, there was somebody that was their only shot at making the World Series. And they made the decision to not throw Strasburg in the playoffs.
Agreed. I thought the same thing. Not to dwell on it. I remember like it was yesterday, like, dude, if they had this guy, man, they probably could have won the World Series. But what are you going to do?
I disagree. We don't have any data. I agree. I understand what you're saying with
I don't know about
I
don't know about the data, but on him pitching, that could have been their year.
Yeah.
I don't know about the data, though.
For Houston, I think you're more likely to have problems like this when you have pitchers consistently going an extra month into their season, just based on how arms work these days. I don't have the data to back it up, but you don't have the data to back it up against me.
Oh,
I'm not saying Kratz. I'm saying anybody.
No, he's on one.
We don't have an answer.
Kratz, he's on one.
We don't have an answer for the pitching injury epidemic. And I do remember when we brought it up.
Heat check.
Thank you. I did win my bet last night. When we went over all the pitching injuries early on this season, remember there was the flood of injuries, which happens often every year. There were a lot of articles being like, oh, this always happens, though. Every year during this time is when the big long-term injuries pop up. And I'm like, okay, fine. But I feel like we've still had a somewhat consistent flood of this happening. So I just hope we figure it out. Let's talk about some fun
stuff. Why is
it
innings? Yeah. Why is it innings that's pointed to?
I didn't say it's innings. I'm just saying they're pitching stressful pitches in another month of the season. I don't give a crap about 200 innings versus 198 versus 187. I mean, I think it's just an easy media-friendly number to look at. I think most teams are looking at pitches, stress pitches, and they have their own formulas that they're looking at behind the scenes. But it's easy to describe to the public, hey, this pitcher X went 120 last year. He's 20 years old. He's not going to go past 150 or 160. You know what I'm saying? I'm hoping that teams are smarter and doing more homework than that they're not weighing every pitch equally.
And I can say 100%. Todd, your longest playoff run was in 17, right?
Yes, sir.
How did you feel at the end of that month?
It took a day, but when I got home, I was exhausted.
And so I can agree with
the ups and downs, you know.
I can agree with Scott in that sense that even in the playoffs I didn't play in, because I only played in really one where we went to the game 7 of the NLCS. But even the other ones, you're physically you're just exhausted. I assume it's from the mental exhaustion of constantly being locked in for so long. So yeah, I mean, pitchers doing that, you know, I would agree with Scott more than I would agree with somebody saying no, that doesn't have any correlation.
The Cubs were cooked eventually after becoming a good ball club. And I think there was probably even more going on, right? With all of the city on your back to finally win a World Series. That over those next couple years, people were like, oh, this team's going to keep winning. And I covered them in the playoffs 1 or 2 years after that. And the players are literally not even holding it back. I mean, most of the time it's off the record, but I'm like, how you doing? And they're like exhausted, especially the guys that have been there, the core, right? They're like exhausted. And then you're talking to PR and they're like, hey, let's take it a little bit easy on these guys. They're feeling it. I'm like, I need 3 minutes, for the league network to do a pre or post game interview. And they were like, yo, they're feeling it right now, mentally, physically, the whole deal. And I was like, cool, it's good to know. It's good to learn. But anyway, with all that being said, I think the Houston Astros are still good enough to make the playoffs, good enough to make a run based on the bullpen complexion that they have. They can make a trade or two. And I just don't think they operate that way. Also, this ties into the combo we just had at the beginning of the show. Mid teams all over the place, a few powerhouses. They are able to make it into the playoffs. They have a pathway to the postseason. They have a nice core lineup-wise. Still could see them making the playoffs and being a pain in the ass. So I don't think they're going to sell unless they really crumble. The AL West is not running away from them. And neither are the wild card spots.
Bergman's getting hot too, so watch out.
It's getting real hot. And they won last night. They had a nice dub against St. Louis.
True.
So keep that in mind. Hey, quickie look at foulterritoryshop.com. Hats, T-shirts, trucker hats, sweatshirts, wristbands, stickers, coffee mugs. You want to show off the coffee mug?
No, yeah, this is nice.
It's better from you than me. We got
this is nice.
Single shot of Todd Father. Nice. Put whatever you want in there.
Wow.
You're a little late night. How you doing? Or
how you doing? A little spritzer?
Yeah, early morning wake up call.
Do you guys mean hot chocolate? Do you guys mean hot chocolate at night? Because that's nice. A nice hot chocolate with some nice milk. Ooh.
Only during Christmas time, but yes.
Kratz would say hot chocolate.
I can't stand looking at this guy's beak. It's killing me right now, but that's all right. Anyway.
Hey, you want to do a quick look at your boy Luis Heel?
Yeah.
And we're going to talk to Ken. Let's get the Yankees analyst on the latest from Heel shutting down the Minnesota Twins last night and the streak that he's got going on.
7 start in a row with 6+ innings pitched with 1 or 0 runs allowed. As a rook, I mean, this is everybody's dream. I don't care if it's the Yankees, whatever team you're at, to have a guy come into spring training not knowing if he's going to get a spot, and then boom, he gets the spot and he takes off. Knock on wood, this guy hasn't really had a bad outing this whole season. I mean, player of the month, the dude is an absolute thrill to watch. He's putting up the numbers. And if you're a Yankee fan, my goodness, this guy has been the real deal. His changeup is top notch. His fastball's got rise to it. It's got tons of movement. And Jose Trevino's been catching him a lot too. So having a veteran back there with him, put the number down, Luis Heel, just throw what he tells you to throw. It's been a treat to watch, honestly.
What do you think of his changeup command?
I think honestly, with the way his fastball is and how electric it is, I'm not really worried about the command of it at all. Even it's been pretty good, but for me,
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like whatever count, like suddenly he drops one in there that's basically unhittable. Because I think he's got it on auto right now.
Yeah, because his fastball's so electric, you gotta be ready for number one, and then you see that ball coming. Oh shoot, I'm out in front. It might be this far off the plate, but man, they've been doing something really good.
Watch his next. If I know Todd watches the starts, but watch his next start and when he throws his changeup, the location of it. There's several times where he'll throw high changeups in the zone, and he gets away with it because exactly what Todd said. He attacks with that fastball, and that fastball, you got it. It has a little bit more to it. I caught him at the COVID alternate site in 2020, and the guy they had there running the pitching part was not doing him any service. It was like we put the TrackMan stuff on the scoreboard, and it was, let's just see what you got. And he had electric stuff then, but it was like, how hard can you throw? And I remember talking to him and trying to say, hey, you know what? During this time, you could get called up during this COVID season, whatever it was so much uncertainty, but they won't do it unless you are hitting that box. I get it. Your stuff on the scoreboard says you have elite spin, you have elite ride, you have like 100, it's like 99% efficiency spin up at the top of the zone. But if you're not throwing it in the zone, they can't trust you. And that's what he's doing right now. He is just trusting his changeup to just be in the zone, just hit the box. And you rarely see him going. When he was starting to have issues, he had a really hot stretch when he first got called up in 22, I think. And then he kind of got banged around a little bit. That changeup was never a strike during that time. And now it's almost always a strike. So if you see a game where he's out of the zone with his changeup, it might not go great because then anything that starts down, they're just not swinging at it. Right now, everything is just pow, 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 just pounding the zone.
Sounded like me at the club. But yeah, that's a great call. The changeup command has been the difference maker for me. There were scouting reports early on, like, this dude struggles in that department. And you're right. They kept it simpler for him. Like, yo, if that thing's in the zone, it's still tough to touch. So just get it in there. And he's dominating right now. We'll be right back with Ken Rosenthal.
Unified Healing is sponsoring this episode of Foul Territory. Unified Healing is an innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Energy Enhancement System, or EE System. This technology promotes wellness and deep relaxation, and there are hundreds of locations across the globe. Interested in experiencing the EE System technology for yourself? Go to unifiedhealing.com/foul to learn more and find a center near you. That's UNIFYD healing.com/FOUL. No material or testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including EE System.
Inside Scoop time with Ken Rosenthal. I see many questions already from the chat. I'll get a couple of them a little bit later on in our conversation with Ken. But Ken, great to see you. This is going to be fun because we're going to start with the Chicago White Sox.
Hold on.
What?
What were you just looking at there, Ken?
Todd always does this.
No,
if you're doing something, he wants you to break something.
You were high tech on your phone right there. You just got texted something.
Todd, I'm going to tell you the truth. It's not that at all. You're going to love what this is. I was buying a New Jersey Transit bus ticket because I'm going right to the stadium from here.
Hey, don't miss that. Hey, you better get on that right now.
I'm on it, man.
It's the trade of the century, money for a bus ticket. All right, so Ken, let's start with the White Sox on a non-AJ Pierzynski day, but we get to start with Chicago because you just wrote about them. Let's begin with Pedro Grifol's manager tenure and what you wrote about. So what do you think?
Well, what I wrote about was what he said last week when he said the team was, I'm not going to say the exact words, even though I know you guys would love me to. He said they were bleeping flat. And whenever a manager questions a team's effort, a player's effort, publicly, that can cause a problem. And generally it does cause a problem. It cost you some of the clubhouse. And in Grifol's case, the team is now 15-46. They've lost 12 straight. They haven't won since this happened. He probably is headed for an unfortunate reality that all managers eventually must face, and that's the loss of his job. So that was kind of the gist of what I wrote about, just where those comments fit in the context of the season. Is this his fault? No, it's not his fault. Not entirely, that's for sure. And in fact, I said in the column, he might not even be the fifth or sixth biggest reason why they are where they are. But at the same time, there's a new general manager there, first year for Chris Getz. And ultimately, Chris Getz might want his own guy. And you might ask, well, when's this going to happen? Why doesn't it happen right now? It seems that they are waiting till later in the season when they are ready to bring up some of their younger players. And then at that point, maybe they'll want a new environment. Now, you could say, well, if they keep losing now, why not do it now? They might, for all I know. But keep in mind, owner Jerry Reinsdorf has a powerful voice with this team. Obviously, he's the owner, and he is an involved owner. So it's hard to predict when this might happen, but it certainly isn't looking good for the team, for Pedro Grifol, for anybody involved with that organization.
So about this team, talk to me about maybe a little trade talk with Garrett Crochet. I mean, one of the better pitchers in the league right now. Have you been hearing anything about that?
Yes, and I wrote a story yesterday with Dennis Lin of The Athletic about the Padres' specific interest in Crochet. They've been the most aggressive on him so far. It's early. We're still almost 2 months away from the deadline. And when you say the Padres have been the most aggressive, you might say, ooh, that's interesting. And it is. But A.J. Preller, their general manager, is always the most aggressive on players that he wants. What's interesting about Crochet, and we didn't get to this in the story, probably should have, is that he is going to face an innings not limit at some point, but this is his first full year as a starter. How long is he going to go as a starter this season? Now, maybe if you're the Padres or some other team, you look at him as a guy that you can get, start him when you need to, relieve him if you need to. But the White Sox are going to value him as a number one starter. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him. They have a number of pieces that they can move. Luis Robert Jr., of course, back healthy, home run last night. Eric Fetty, he's a starting pitcher who has done well. I don't know that he would start a playoff game, but he can certainly help get you there. Tommy Pham, others as well. Michael Kopech. But they're going to have some difficult decisions ahead here, and who they want to keep, who they want to let go, who they want to build around with, and Crochet is a very interesting part of that equation, one way or the other.
All right, so Crochet could be on the move. That's exciting for teams. I went on a Baltimore station, your old hometown, and they wanted Crochet, and I was like, I don't know. Same thing as what you said. But the Astros seem to make moves, and if Dana Brown says they're in, does Ken Rosenthal buy that?
Yes, because the owner, Jim Crane, is someone who is not inclined to sell. I want to get back to Crochet for 1 second, and then I'll get to your question, Eric. The Orioles, you mentioned them. They are actually a better fit for Crochet with the White Sox than probably the Padres are. And the reason for that is the Orioles are so deep in young position players. And if you remember in the Dylan Cease trade, the White Sox got some pitching back. They know that at some point they're going to need position players. So the Orioles, from that perspective, might be an easier team to match up with. Now, the Astros. Dana Brown, their GM, has said, he told the Athletics' Chandler Rome that I cannot see any scenario in which we will be sellers. You can look at the standings and wonder why he is saying such a thing, but as I said, the owner of the team, Jim Crane, his idea is to compete every year. And they still believe, and not without justification, that they have a ton of talent on that team, that they can mount a push here and at some point get in the mix. Now, with Jose Urquidy and Cristian Javier both needing to undergo elbow surgery, as the team announced today, that complicates the equation. McCullers is going to come back eventually, but they're really running the risk here of thinning out their rotation to the point where it's truly problematic. So let's see what the next 2 months bring. Teams are not stupid. Owners are not stupid. If the reality is that it's not happening for them this year, then maybe they do sell. We've seen surprising things happen close to the deadline. I remember one year the Tigers were not going to sell, and then they did. And even the Mets last year, they had no intention of selling at this point in the season, and they ended up doing just that. So the Astros certainly are not wired this way. Jim Crane is not wired this way, but on June 5th, I'm not going to sit here and proclaim anything is set in stone. One thing about the deadline, I say this every year, executives, people with teams can say what they want publicly and have their quotes be whatever they want to be. But at the same time, we don't have to believe them entirely. And that's kind of the case here.
Very good, very good. Let's go to the Yankees for a little bit. They've been doing unbelievable lately. Their strong performance has surpassed a lot of people's expectation, considering Garrett Cole, went on the shelf. What can we expect from him moving forward? How's he been doing? And what's going to happen with this rotation, Big Dog? This is going to be something very interesting to talk about in the next couple weeks here.
Well, Cole had his first rehab start last night, did well. Doesn't seem to be any problems with him. He's on track to come back. Whether he makes one more rehab start or 2 or 3, that remains to be seen. I imagine it will be a return that happens sooner rather than later. You don't want to waste his bullets in the minor leagues if he's healthy. But at the same time, you don't want to go too quickly. And at a time when the team is, as you said, Todd, rolling, you don't need to rush this. You can take your time and have it work out however it's going to work out, naturally. As for their rotation, they just lost Clark Schmidt. Right lat strain, it's probably a couple of months. And the whole question of, what happens to Luis Hill when Cole comes back? Of course, it just got answered by the Schmidt injury. They're in pretty good shape, but with all teams that have rotation strength, they're 1 or 2 injuries away from a problem. They do have some younger guys, some depth. We've seen Petit. There are others as well that they can turn to, even after trading so much pitching in the Juan Soto deal. But Cole coming back healthy would be so big for them, because then you think of a rotation that has Cole at the top. It still has Heel, of course. Cortez and Rodon have been really good, and you're looking at something that's pretty special. Who knows how long Luis Heel can keep this up, and not so much in terms of quality, but in terms of sustaining the innings, given that he didn't pitch much the past 2 years coming off Tommy John surgery. But hey, these are rich people's problems right now for the Yankees. They've got a great thing going, and with Cole coming back, they get even richer.
Ken, I'll mix in some fan questions. For this one, I'll add to it. So Toasty, who's one of our smarter members of the FT fam, said, assuming the Padres are trying to add and Crochet doesn't work out, is Jesus Luzardo a possibility, or anyone else that you can think of? I just want to add one comment here, and I know you kind of touched on it. Garrett Crochet has barely pitched in the bigs since he came into the league. If you're looking at starters, he hasn't even gotten close to 100 innings. So just based on the law of averages, it usually does not work out well either later in the season for someone like that, or in the future if you overwork them in a season like this. He's not suddenly going to pitch, 150 innings plus the playoffs. I mean, he could, but chances are it would not end well. Do you agree?
I do agree, and certainly that's a consideration for any team that wants to acquire him. But I would think if you're the Padres, let's just use them as an example, and you want Garrett Crochet, you're not just getting him for this year. You're getting him, I believe, for 2 more. So you're thinking, okay, we'll get what we can this year, do what we can to maximize his innings, and then we have him building up next year to a greater extent, and then the year after that as well. So it's not a one-year situation, though certainly when you're contending, you want to use him as much as you can. As for Luzardo, yeah, he's going to be available. He did not pitch well last night, but he's someone who is really good. The Marlins are going to trade him. There's not much question about that. He might end up being one of the best starting pitchers traded at the deadline. No question.
Mm-hmm. And yes, 2.5 years to go for Crochet. You're right. So it's still a slow game there. I have a question based off a conversation we had at the top of the show on how much parity we have. There's only 4 teams in the National League right now that are above the 500 mark. And basically all but like 4 or 5 teams are in playoff contention right now. Kelsey asked for Ken, how can MLB keep expanded playoffs but challenge mid teams to be more competitive? Time to switch up the divisions?
Well, the switch up of divisions will eventually happen once there is realignment and once there is expansion. I should have proceeded saying realignment with expansion. Expansion by 2 teams will lead to 32 teams in the league, and at that point, the league will realign. Not going to happen until then. And this whole question of the expanded playoffs, whether they're good for the game, bad for the game, neither here nor there, that's something that still we need to see more of, because I'm not kind of convinced either way right now. I don't like the fact that teams that are 500 suddenly can have a little run like the Diamondbacks did last year and then go all the way through. It seems kind of weird in baseball when you have 162 games to play that can happen. But the way the system works right now, that can happen. And it's certainly something that other teams are pointing to. All these teams on the fringes right now are saying, maybe we can be this year's Diamondbacks. Now, the other side of that is maybe it's good that you have things occur like they did last season with the Diamondbacks. Maybe that gives more teams hope, and maybe it makes things more interesting. To me, this sport, though, is predicated on the length of its season, 162, and that has been, without question, devalued. You now have much more of a March Madness feel to October, and that's exciting. It's fun. It leads to upsets, but it doesn't really honor what this sport has honored throughout its history, which is the regular season.
All right. One last trade question for me, because I had to ask our resident Yankee lover, hopeful Yankee fan, what do the Yankee fans need? And his answer was possibly a Ryan McCann, which McMahon. I was thinking of James McCann, but Ryan McMahon who is an elite, the only elite player really from the Rockies. Would the Rockies allow that ownership-wise to get rid of one of their pieces that they feel like they extended and is part of their team to move forward to whatever it is that the Rockies ownership wants to do?
I doubt it based on their history. And I know Yankee fans have been talking about Ryan McMahon as if he can be their possession anytime now. But the Rockies routinely see themselves as better than they are. I don't know if that's the right phrasing exactly, but they have higher hopes for themselves than maybe we have for them. And McMahon is a part of that. He's a part of that equation for them. They're not a team that has ever gone fully into rebuild mode. They've traded some superstars, yes, but they've still tried to compete. They don't have much to trade. That's true. It's Elias Diaz, it's Jalen Beeks. That's about it as far as potential free agents are concerned. McMahon would bring them a lot. But at the same time, if DJ LeMahieu comes back strong and Rizzo gets going, the need for McMahon becomes, I would think, less. And the Yankees will probably prefer to focus on their bullpen and perhaps their rotation if it becomes a situation where there is a need there. There currently is not a need there. So that's how I see it. Things change. Maybe the Rockies' perspective changes, but based on their history, it doesn't seem to me that they're going to trade a McMahon. You might say, well, they traded Arenado, but Arenado was miserable. He was unhappy there, and that's what kind of fueled that. Same thing with Tulowitzki years before that.
Yeah, and I think that ownership has a close relationship with Ryan McMahon, and for a team that runs itself mom and pop style, if they like a dude, it's their toy, they're probably not trading him. He's a good guy. He's pretty solid. People know who he is kind of in Colorado. So, yeah, that makes sense to me. Ken, thank you very much. Appreciate you. Have fun on the bus.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Ken talked about the Rockies, too, as one of the fan questions in Fair Territory. So check that out as well, wherever you get your podcasts. And on this FT YouTube channel, yesterday's episode came out. Usually it's Mondays. We did a little Tuesday episode with Ken. So that is up there for the world to consume. Of course, he covered the Marcano lifetime ban from Major League Baseball and the 4 suspended players for the whole betting bonanza that went on and that scandal, but a lot more that he covered in there as well in Fair Territory. Real quick, before we move on to the next thing, I just had a couple comments that really one that I wanted to work in here. I like to bite back at things when they grind my gears. So Dom in the chat, who I hadn't seen before, always welcome everybody in, said,
yeah, sure. Good
always
and bad.
news about Astros being bad. Who cares? How about the other crappy teams? Time to unsubscribe and stick to other baseball channels. If it was a joke, it was hilarious, but I think I said the Astros were good. Also, I'm like, what do you want us to, you don't want us to mention a team that lost 2 pretty good veteran starters in the past 24 hours to arm surgery? We cover all 30. So just wanted to throw it out there. I mean, if you were kidding, then I'm taking things too seriously. And I don't read most of the crap, but that one stood out to me. I just genuinely responded and didn't understand.
We got to know what fan he's
like,
on.
do you only want us to cover like Yankees, Red Sox, and like the same 3 names, like say, a channel would do that doesn't really know baseball that well? I don't know. So always welcome.
Can't please them all.
To hear the feedback. No, you can't. But for that one, I just was genuinely curious what you did want, because I do stick my eye on the chat almost the entire show. So just
I want to know. I want to know what the other channels are. Dom, drop it in there. Tell us what other channels, because I love watching good baseball content where they actually cover what's happening based on a league-wide success.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
agreed.
Hey, we're covering the Pirates right now as we talk about SeatGeek, our new partner to the FT fam. Having a little Pirates talk. Yeah, that's right. SeatGeek's the official ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. They have you covered for all of your baseball ticket needs. So if you would like to check out the Dodgers and Pirates tonight, after a great game yesterday with Glasnow matching up against Jared Jones, and Jones beat him. I mean, if you're in the Pittsburgh area, get after it. And you can see there's the green dot and the red dot kind of showing you which seats you should kind of steer yourself towards in terms of value. That's in the app, which is awesome. But let's take a second to focus on tonight's matchup, because you got Skeens going up against LA. We'll actually have a Dodgers territory post-game show after that one with Alana Rizzo and Clint Pasillas, but we might have a little encore after yesterday's duel.
Oh, this is as much as I want to like sell the Midwest game, not sell the like Yankees, Red Sox, anything Dodgers, Phillies games, because I think there's so many other good games. Like I said about the Royals and Cleveland, that was a great game. This game tonight, like if you are not watching the Pirates and Dodgers game right now, I get it. It's James Paxton for the Dodgers. You're not getting Yamamoto. That would be like the holy grail of matchups. You have to tune into this game. You have to tune into this game. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
That's the one. Skeens against at least the top half of a Dodgers lineup that is as dangerous as any in baseball. You get to face the big boys.
You know, there's 10 series that conclude today.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And there could be 10 series of sweeps.
Really? They're
Yes, all could be sweeps. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. I did not know that.
10 of them. That's incredible.
Because there's a couple two-game spots, so that's why it's possible. It's good.
But it's still pretty cool. I mean, good.
I didn't say it wasn't cool, Todd.
Right.
I didn't say it wasn't cool, Todd. Just get your hand out of the mitt. Just don't think you're a captain just because you have a catcher's mitt next to you. Okay.
Yeah, but it's a current major league catcher's mitt.
It's not even his.
Yeah, it is now. I don't want yours, nerd. SeatGeek, let's go.
Over 28 million downloads, making them the #1 rated ticketing app. Baseball season's in full swing. Don't miss out with SeatGeek. Your tickets to every game, concert, festivals, the whole deal are backed by their buyer guarantee, and it's the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps. You know FT's got you hooked up with the code FOUL for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code FOUL. Make sure you click that link in the description to download the app. Boom. There you go.
Pretty cool.
All right. We got a problem. I've been told we got a problem.
We do have
that
a
is
problem.
popping up. It's been a minute, but we got to go visit the office that you don't want to visit too often, but every once in a while it's okay to just check in with
We
Pops.
got to go to a different country. I got offices in other countries too.
Okay.
So my office out in London.
Oh, London.
I had to go take a flight.
You expanded.
Yeah. Not many people know about that office. I'm walking down the street looking for a new hat for my boys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm like, maybe they have cool hats over there. And I come and I see the picture of the London series,
Mm-hmm.
You got Phillies, they got Schwarber, they got Trey Turner on a picture. And then I look in the Mets, and my boy's favorite player is Pete Alonso, Lindor, and they
Superstars?
Superstars. They're not on they're not on there. So I'm confused here. Jake Reed in the bullpen. Love him. But guess what? Where are the superstars at?
Jake Reed's not on the team, too.
Yeah, so I'm very...
Like, Ottavino's in there.
Yeah, no, I like Ottavino.
We like Adam.
Yeah, Adam's probably like, why the heck am I on there, too? So I've been getting a lot of slack here online. I don't know what's going on. So, Mets, talk to me. Why aren't the big boys on that picture? Why aren't we getting them going here for the London series? We definitely have a problem.
Wait, but we also have like a legitimate glitch at that store. So this was blowing up on Reddit, and you see some of the comments. Jake Reed pitched for the Mets in 2022.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
So you have, you saw Turner, Schwarber, Harper is also on that side of the store out there.
We get that. Smart move.
Yeah. But then you have Reed Garrett, Adam Ottavino, and Jake Reed on the other side.
I think they made a mistake.
London, are you
made a big mistake?
Are you a little Philly bias?
You know what I think. You know what I think happened. Kratz got there before I did.
Yep.
And he did that bullshit. You and your Philly bull sugar. You do that again, you're gonna be your ass is Kratz.
Hey, this is the problem segment. I don't want to fight the hornet's nest. I don't want to be on the wrong side of the Jersey River. But
this is
I gotta
Go ahead.
say, this is Major League Baseball. Dude, you have people on the ground over there selling your game. Is it one store? I don't know if it's all the stores. It's not happening at the stadium. But come on, let's figure this out. I don't know. I think it was was it a New Era store?
Mm-hmm.
New Era, like, they know their stuff, but that stuff's sent to them. They're not just like, oh, you know what we'll do? We'll print out a few fatheads. We can't figure out anybody on the Mets. Yeah, right. Major League Baseball sent this to them, and they failed. Absolute fail.
That's a great point. They failed 100%, and I'll leave it at that. Can't change it now either. Leave it how it is. Let the people walk by and be like, who is that? No, can't happen.
Jake
That was a
Reed's mom
very
likes it.
well warranted problem.
Nothing
I don't
again-
even know if
nothing
she
ag-
likes it. She's probably like, yo, my son's not on the team for that anymore. Are you going to give him royalties or something?
And nothing against those guys. They're probably all great dudes.
No, and also, guess what? If Adam Ottavino knew this, like if one of us texted him or we brought him on the show, he would be like, why are those three on one side and those three on the other? I mean, he's an analyst in our game as well as a reliever, and he'd be like, something happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, they missed it. They missed it.
Yeah, but that's not even close. It's not like we said, hey, they went with more of their B-list position players and one high leverage reliever. It's like, no, they picked a couple relievers on the team, non-closers, and a dude that hasn't pitched on the team, who barely pitched on the team in 2022. Someone is getting in trouble for this.
They have to. Somebody. This is Great Britain Jersey style, except if it wasn't for the great internet, because the internet is undefeated, like maybe we wouldn't have seen it. Maybe the few thousands of people that go to the London series from over here, we wouldn't have ever seen this. But now we see it. Like this is a storefront. Like maybe they made a decision. Like who is the most attractive 3 people that played in the last 1.5 years for the Mets? Put them on our billboard. Maybe that's what it is. So shout out to Reed Garrett, Jake Reed, and Adam Ottavino. 3 most attractive, appealing faces that they could find on the Mets.
There you go. Handsome faces representing Major League Baseball in London. Good job. Let's get to the Cubs-White Sox series that is currently happening. Part of the FT fam, Northside Territory. Check it out if you haven't. Great episode. I will actually personally say my favorite episode so far. They had John Greenberg as their guest, Sahadev Sharma, and Patrick Mooney, the stars, the hosts of the show. Mooney joining us right now, and you can read all of his work in The Athletic. Patrick, great to have you. I actually listened to that entire episode this morning and loved it. You guys had good chemistry going there. John was hilarious. And, of course, you did a full breakdown of where the Cubs and White Sox are at, including the special relationship that currently is happening between Chris Getz and Jed Hoyer and their families, all as friends. So I just wanted to start there because I don't know if that's gotten a ton of national coverage, but have you ever heard of that where rival GMs are like carpooling?
Well, yeah, John Greenberg did have a great column in The Athletic. And as you guys know, like baseball is a small world. And if you wonder why these front offices think alike, in Chicago, at least, they live in basically the same neighborhood. They, see each other at pickup. Jed kind of went through this in Chicago to an extent as Theo Epstein's general manager of, tearing a team down and having to wear it for a couple of years. And like, as Jed reiterated last night at Wrigley, like conceptually, front offices understand it. You're looking at your whiteboard in the off season, you're looking at your computer programs, but then, the season hits and you're like 10 games under a month into the season. You just have to like keep going. And that I think is where Jed and Chris Getz have connected. And I think Jed's reputation is someone who, he was always the more chatty, extroverted part of the half of his partnership with Theo Epstein. And so I mean, Jed's even friends with like the Bears GM, and has lots of contacts throughout professional sports.
I want to talk a little bit about Shota Imanaga. This guy, he wasn't the top guy to get picked over to bring back to America to play here. And I'm not going to say undercoverly. We knew about him, but we didn't think, honestly, I didn't think he was going to show up like this and dominate like he has. You wrote an article with Ken lately. Talk a little bit about him and his impact.
Yeah, it's funny, Todd. I mean, Chicago, like he became this like where's Shota type thing. Like his agents are based in Chicago, and he made 2 separate trips here and posted up out by sort of near O'Hare Airport and was like throwing at one of Bo Jackson's indoor facilities. Went to a Blackhawks game, posed next to the Michael Jordan statue, and he's just kind of waiting for the Cubs to reciprocate that interest. And now they were on him from the start. They started their book on him in 2018, right around the same time they started their Seiya Suzuki profile. So they were certainly in on this. But to your point, Todd, like the Cubs didn't expect this. Like, Shota didn't expect this. And I think these last 2 starts, you've seen him come back to earth a little bit. But I still think within that, there's a really strong foundation for a very good major league pitcher who is very comfortable in his surroundings and is showing, a ton of personality, which, is a great credit to him of being in a totally new place. And he's not attached to his interpreter. He's really intentional about how he interacts with teammates and the media. And so, yeah, I mean, the Cubs, it looks like it's early, but it looks like they got a steal, right?
What's more concerning, though, if we're going to stay on Shota, what's more concerning? The fact that he got waffled by a division opponent, or that he kind of laid another egg against a AAA opponent?
Yeah. Well, I think the issue is that the Cubs defense has been really bad this year. And of those 5 runs, 4 were unearned. And Eric, Craig Counsell is about the details and the little things. And the Cubs simply have not done that on a consistent basis across the board this year. And we're talking about, base running, jumping on pitchers early, getting into the bad part of an opponent's bullpen. Jed Hoyer laid that out last night. And so I think with better defense and also just this infrastructure the Cubs have, like I don't think Shota's instant success would have happened on all of the other 29 major league teams. Certainly there are certain places, and Shota gets all the credit for how he's performed. But the Cubs, ask you, Darvish, the Cubs have a pretty good group in terms of really accentuating a pitcher's strengths and kind of guiding them through a season. And if you're a Cubs fan right now or a baseball observer, like Shota, I think is towards the bottom of the list of concerns that on a list that's fairly long at this point.
That's you as a Cubs fan. You can make a list of pretty much every team that somebody's a fan of that you have an issue. But now you're being linked to the defensive specialist that Pete Alonso could be a Cubs target, a possible Cubs target. Do you feel like that's the fit, even though there could be other holes? Or do you feel like defensively we don't really care when you hit 40-plus homers?
Yeah, I think they'd be happy with that trade-off. They were on him at last year's trade deadline. I guess we're assuming the Mets are going to sell. I don't see a scenario in which the Cubs sell this year. Not saying the Cubs are world beaters or anything like that. I just think there's a lot of pressure to make the playoffs this year. This is why you hire Craig Counsell. As an organization, the Cubs don't need more A-ball prospects. Like, they need dynamic major league talent. And, for as bad as they've looked recently, they're still in a wild card position right now. They're not above 500. They don't have a positive run differential. But this roster was not set up the way the White Sox roster was, which is to be stripped down at the trade deadline. Like, they have a lot of guys on hard-to-move contracts. They have a lot of guys who right now are underperforming. And then the guys that are playing well are building blocks for the future. So I think they're going to do everything they can to not only finish the 6-month season, but to really give them a boost, knowing that Council's teams, as you know, Eric, typically peak in the second half.
I know you've covered this in almost every show so far on Northside Territory. Can you pinpoint some problems with the offense and some potential internal solutions? And I mean that in two ways. One, an internal solution could be somebody from the minor leagues like an Owen Casey. I don't know if he's ready yet. And number two, that could be certain guys where you're like either peripheral numbers or a change coming or this isn't him and usually he turns it around at X time. Like, how do you see this playing out?
Yeah, and that's what the Cubs have been kind of talking in circles on this one. All the points that you just raised, Scott, of, you've got Christopher Morel's expected stats should be a lot better, knowing that his tools are really loud as it is. It's not out of the question that an Owen Casey or a Matt Shaw could make an impact for this lineup this year. Seeing how the dramatic difference between numbers at AAA Iowa and the show, I don't know if I would bank on that. But in the end, their best hitters have to perform better. And I think Cody Bellinger has been a solidly above average hitter, a very good player, versatile, but I think he's making $30 million this year. I mean, Seiya Suzuki is a hitter that the Cubs invested roughly $100 million in. Dansby Swanson needs to pick it up. Ian Happ has been picking it up. Dansby at-bats have been looking better. And they're in a stretch now of I think it's 25 consecutive games against sub-500 teams. So it's go time here. And I think that's part of their confidence of seeing how this season is mapped out.
All right. June 5th. Are they making the playoffs? And does that matter if they make the playoffs? Would you you just want them in the playoffs because they're not necessarily built for a deep October run? Would you rather them not make the playoffs and say, okay, now we need to really build so that when we make the playoffs, we're deep into this run into the World Series?
Well, I don't care if they make the playoffs or not. My job's to report on the team. But internally, I will tell you there's going to be a lot of pressure. Making the playoffs is a big deal. That goes on your permanent record, right? Last year when you finished with 83 wins and missed by one game, they fired the manager. And now, would they have done that if they had made the playoffs? Perhaps, but it would have been a lot harder to execute that. And so I think from an ownership's perspective, Tom Ricketts looks at the Arizona Diamondbacks last year. They are not, funding a team to go toe-to-toe with the Dodgers every single offseason. It is another team in the National League West. It is the Diamondbacks, and they won, I think it was 6 of 7 games against the Cubs last September. The Cubs' playoff odds were above 90% or around 90%. And the Diamondbacks just took it to them. And, when they showed up at Wrigley in early September, no one was talking about them as a pennant winner. And so I think if you're the Cubs, you need to show progress. It's been, 3 years since that huge sell-off at the deadline, which has not netted them a ton yet, though that could change. And Pete Crow Armstrong is looking like a really nice player. And so once you get in, they've got really good starting pitching. We're assuming that, Justin Steele will pitch an all-star again, and he's trending that way, and that Shota can carry it through for an entire season. Javier Assad has been outstanding. And so you look at those elements, I don't think they're concerned about how many rounds they can win, but just getting in, I think, would be huge for them.
Patrick, you're the man. Thank you for joining us. And I'll throw this out there one more time as your hype dude, because I listened to it this morning. Challenge all of the FT fam to listen to it. Even I know there's a decent White Sox contingent in the chat. It's actually just as much the latest episode White Sox as it is Cubs, and it's super entertaining. Yeah. I challenge you to listen to it, check back in the chat, and if you didn't like it, let me know why, because it is a good little back and forth with Patrick and John and Sahadev. So thank you, Patrick. Good to talk to you, man, and I'll be listening to Northside Territory.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you. You too. All right. There it is. Multiple episodes weekly, usually 3 shows per week. They're all over the White Sox Cubs series right now and just breaking down what's going on in Chicago. It is Northside Territory. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're in the FT fam and you want to subscribe to all the other team channels that we have. That would be cool. That'd be appreciated. Even the little hot sheet show we did yesterday on Baseball America would be nice as well. Let's get to our Baseballism questions of the day. Todd Father has not been hit with these questions, so you were on the hot seat for 3, and I like these. And if you have any suggestions for us, please send them, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. But the 3 we have for you that we've passed around to AJ and a few others. Let's start with one random thing from your career that you have kept. You're pretty good on memorabilia.
Yeah. I got one random thing, which I think is really random. So this person threw out the first pitch. I'm going to try not to say it. And I want you and Kratz to yell it out if you know who it is. All right.
50 Cent.
Threw out the first. What? Wrong. Throughout the first pitch, he just got done doing the most exciting thing that you can do in 10 minutes in sports. I guess it is a sport. Okay,
Joey Chestnut.
Boom! Look at you, dude.
Wow.
Joey Chestnut throughout the first pitch, and there was all these Nathan hot dog cardboard. You open up the Nathan hot dog, it's in a little cardboard thing. I went digging in the garbage. There was 100 of them. I took one out. I said, Joey, you mind signing this? He signed it for me, and I got it chilling in my man cave. So I think that's a pretty random thing. And he said, eat like a boss under there. So it's pretty cool.
That's the best answer we've had.
Yeah.
That is exactly what we're looking for when we say really random. I mean, you have to go into the trash and make sure you get a piece of that memory.
I did.
That means you have a lot of junk. If you save that means you have a lot of signed junk.
I do. That is really cool.
Well, one more. It's not as random, but Todd Father somewhere in this studio has the note from Joe Torre. Is it the suspension or the fine? Was it the fine for tossing equipment or some crap?
Yeah, Danny Bellino threw me out of the game because he called 2 or 3 pitches that were this far off. Went back in, we got 3 outs, and he's looking at me like this, looking for me. I said, they were this far fucking outside. Boom, tossed me. I told him some choice words, and that was it. Told me he had no cojones and moved on from there.
But you got a friendly letter, which I guess is protocol, right? They send you a letter saying, hey, you've been fined.
You've been fined this amount, and this is, in quotations, what the umpires thought you said or definitely said. And, he was spot on.
You should have wrote back, why is he staring at me, looking to kick me out? Can he just do his job? But you know how I feel about that stuff.
It is what it is.
Rabbit ears.
Who's the coolest? Yeah, exactly. Who's the coolest person you met through baseball? Could be a celeb, athlete, etc. I mean, obviously Chestnut's a good name, but you've got more.
Now, the word I'm looking here is coolest.
Yeah.
Okay. I got 2 guys because I put them on the same platform with the Cincinnati Reds. The coolest would have to be Eric Davis. I mean, he's as cool as the other side of the pillow. He's one of my mentors. And right next to him, another one of my mentors is Ken Griffey Sr. These 2 guys together, the stories they had, they were the coolest dudes around. Eric Davis, his birthday was last week. Wish him happy birthday. He rocks the old Adidas shirts, old Adidas jumpsuits. And Ken Griffey talked like this and said, I throw you that 1 finger ball. He used to hold the baseball with one finger during batting practice. The thing had some nasty cut to it. So, coolest catch you'll ever meet in your life.
I like that. What about, just to double down on this, anybody that you felt either super excited or nervous about, like someone you maybe hitting one of the Yanks or Mets games that swung by New York, either in a clubhouse or a first pitch? If you need time to think about it, that's fine too. But did you ever feel like, and it could be a player too, but did you ever feel it? Like, there are many actually in sports that really don't get starstruck, almost no matter who swings by. Like for me on the basketball side, the only person that I ever was like, whoa, was Shaq, just because I was like, been watching this dude since I was a kid, and he's just an enormous man.
I would say Derek Jeter was one.
Okay.
I was a little nervous, just because his prowess over here in the East Coast, and finally get to meet him. I got to play in his last All-Star game, my first All-Star game. Well, I actually met him when I was 12, but that's another story. But he, he was the dude out here, bro. He was that guy, and you know that as well. So seeing him, hey, man, what's going on? In your mind, you're like, you want it to go the right way, but it did. It was fine. But still, didn't know really much to say, but we became friends afterwards, which was great.
Good Jeter comp, Kratz, would be 12-year-old Todd Frazier.
You're funny, dude.
Right?
Fair. Yes. Fair. Maybe actually Todd was more dominant than Jeter.
True.
At 12, for sure.
And if you take the population of South Jersey towns in the area, he probably is more well known. But
he's more.
I'm saying Todd, but
Todd's 12-year-old player comp in the show, Mike Trout.
Very, very good. I would say so.
Yeah, that's accurate. Good job.
It would have been Shohei, but I wasn't the best pitcher, so.
Yeah,
but you did pitch.
with those
yeah, no, I was the number 3 guy. I hit my best friend in the face, and I stopped throwing as hard as I could. I turned into a little sourpuss because I was afraid to hit people, and my velo went down.
Ooh, right, because you wanted to be more of a control command guy.
Yeah, R.J. Johansson. We won the World Series together. Don't worry about it. I still love you, and I'm sorry again.
Yeah, and hey, it's a lifelong memory.
He was an all-star.
He just looks like the dude from Goonies because you hit him in the face for the rest of his life.
but he
hey,
won.
you guys.
But he won.
Baby
right,
lastly,
a city that you've been to that you think would be cool to have a baseball team.
This is a tough one. I'm so biased at this. I want to have one in Asbury Park. Not many people know about Asbury Park, man. But Asbury Park is iconic for Bon Jovi, Bruce Springsteen. I mean, even Sinatra. Either Asbury Park or Hoboken, New Jersey. These are some of the most iconic places in Americana. Some of the most, I would call them the icons too. I've said this before. The Hoboken icons, the Asbury Park icons, because the most iconic people that have been around, that have started the music industry, the love for music, the bars, the Jersey Shore, the scenery. Man, we have the Jersey Shore Blue Claws that packs house all the time. You put a major league park here in New Jersey, especially down by the shore, I'm out.
Boom. There it is. I like the Jersey Shore idea, the Asbury idea, better than Hoboken, only because I lived in Hoboken. It's awesome, but it's so small and packed. Like, I don't even just know where you would figure that out. And you're too close to Yankees and Mets territory. This puts you still way far away from those teams and still far enough away from Philly.
Yeah.
So I like that idea. And Asbury Park also, which Todd forgot to mention, has some of the best food in the tri-state area. Like, really strong in that department.
Some of the best steaks you'll ever have in your life. It's
an underrated spot. So, all right, you're off the hot seat. Good job. Those are your baseballism questions. Shirts, hats, sweatshirts, jackets, pants, handbags. The Tony Gwynn line, which has some items sold out, but they're coming soon. And there's others that are available right now. And if you look back at our Tony Gwynn Jr. conversation, you can see some of those items. Plus, Tony was awesome. It was really good. We posted some of those clips on socials like IG and Twitter and all that. But Baseballism is the official lifestyle brand of baseball, and they helped us out with those questions. Thank you. Hot corner time. Should we give some love to Max Fried? Because he had the 2 bad starts. Everyone loses their shit. I didn't lose it, but I was super concerned for multiple reasons. Because I'm like, is he healthy? That was the main thing. I'm like, is he okay? Is this just a blip at a really bad time for a dude who is needed and about to be a free agent? And the answer is yes, it was just a blip. He punched out 13 Boston Red Sox in a dominant performance and a win for Atlanta last night. 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 walk, 2 earned runs, 13 tickets. 13.
Whew. Listen, if this guy comes back to anywhere near form of what he's always been, look out, Atlanta. Get excited. With the plethora of injuries they have, this is a key cog for them moving forward. He look at him. He's just determined. that slider, slurvy, curveball that used to make me look silly all the time is back. He looked confident, breaking. He actually has a changeup that he's been using too a little bit more that I don't remember about as much, Kratzy. You could tell me different, but I don't remember him throwing that as much, and he is, spotting up left and right too. When he's throwing that hard inside fastball, everything else looks amazing.
Free agent year. Now I got to say, first out, boy, the Red Sox can strike out. Them boys are they're just up there swinging and swaying like Sammy K, like Jiminy Christmas, they K. But Maxterpiece, another Maxterpiece. Like, what's his name that does their games? That's what he calls it. He is setting himself up for a monster payday. A monster payday. And he's really keeping this team together because you can't go out there and have a blip with the way the Braves are scoring runs right now. He is almost automatic on a team for the last month that has not been scoring runs for any of their pitchers. Look at Ronaldo Lopez's ERA and look at his win-loss record. Like, he's keeping them in the game. But Max he's going out there and winning. He's almost a guaranteed win every time. 13 punchies, a lot of punchies.
Yeah, he's got it. And he's got a wide arsenal. You don't know what you're getting each time. He changes his game plan pretty frequently, right? You know, there's some pitchers we go over and we're like, is it too much of 2 pitches? But they're so damn good, and teams tell you to just use those pitches over and over again. Max is bringing variety. I think at one point, because there were some sweepers in there, right? At one point after those bad outings, I think he kind of got away from the sweeper slider action for a little bit and then brought it back. I could be a little bit off on that. I think so. No?
I don't know. I'm not sure on that, but I don't like a sweeper in his arsenal. His arsenal is that hammer coming, and he does it as the game progresses. If you want to watch a guy pitch throughout a game, and it kind of goes back to what Todd said about throwing that changeup, he would throw the changeup just a few times. He'd sprinkle in 3 or 4, 5 to 6 if it's needed, just to like get you thinking about it. But early on, he throws that banger back door, and then he'll try to like get somebody to freeze back door on the curveball early in the game. Then he starts moving it to the middle of the plate, and it's middle down. So he's landing it for a strike early. Then he comes back and he starts landing that curveball on the back of the plate, or maybe a little bit farther back, because in your head you're like, man, I haven't seen a curveball that spins this much and moves this much since Kershaw. Since, very few lefties throw that exact like over the top curveball. And now they see the spin, and now you start seeing him chase. So you watch the progression of how he pitches. He's constantly then hammering balls in on right-handed hitters, which in this day and age, to me, I throw a few lefties in the lineup more than just platooning to get the righties in there, because there's a lot of righties that are good hitters that can't handle that pitch in the way that he commands the strike zone in there, and then he runs that little cut in off once he's thrown strikes. So he pitches. He's one of the few pitchers.
Truth.
Yeah, he's a 1 for a team that's going to need him in the playoffs. So if he's on the field for the rest of the year, he's getting at least 150, maybe up to the low 200s million on a contract. I think the thing that will hold him back is he's had some injuries in his past, and teams will use that against him. Yeah, teams will use that against him, though. They will.
I'm saying 220 plus.
220
wow.
plus. Okay.
Oh, you guys are crazy, man.
Well, it depends.
I looked at him when you were saying a big payday. I said, you think he's going to get a big payday? He said, yeah, too. Bro, with the way this market's been going, I don't know what to believe anymore.
But also, let's
remember.
remember.
I hope he does. I want him to get all that money. I think he deserves it.
Yeah.
But watch out.
Blake Snell got offered 150. He just turned it down from the Yanks, 150-ish.
Understood.
Right? So Max Fried finishing out the rest of the season like this is hitting that number.
He should.
Yeah,
definitely.
He should. I mean, he's a 1.
And he should do it first week of free agency.
Yeah.
Hey, who wants it? Here's my number. Somebody meet it.
Right.
And if not, I'll take 20 off. Whatever. Take it and run.
Corbin Burns is probably 250 right now.
That's why I think Corbin might be like 275-ish. So that's why I said why I said Max. Corbin's gonna want. He's gonna want what Garrett got. He's got the Cy Young that Garrett didn't have when he went to free agency.
Agreed.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a fair comp. I got to look at the ages because that's the big thing always with free agency. But if they were hitting the market at a similar time, then that's fair. One more, Braves pitcher. It's really good pitching prospect in their system who we brought up once, and now we'll do it again since he went 6, 2 hits, and earned run of 2 walks and 2 strikeouts. His name's David Fletcher. He's got a knuckleball. It's fun. I just want to see him make it to the show. You know, it's like, oh, we need a spot starter.
Mississippi Braves, what is that, A-ball?
He went to Double-A, so he got sent down since his last start.
Double-A or Triple-A?
He was in Gwinnett, pitching Gwinnett. Now he's in the bushes. He's down in the deep south, in the SIP.
Yeah. Why is that? Just to get him in the rotation regularly there? What was the deal there? Why did he go down?
Because he's not that important to him as a pitcher, and they probably have other guys that are actually starting.
That's messed up. Okay. Well, anyway, more on Hammer territory. I'll ask the Hammer territory guys to make sure that they continue David Fletcher updates in their show. So check that out, QR code. And then also, here's the little promo for you.
They
the
do
YouTube
a good
channel.
job.
They do a great job. It's for them. There's the QR code. Look at you. Multiple episodes weekly. That one actually pops up usually about 4 times per week. And unfortunately, they had to go over some rough news with Acuna about a week ago. So keep an eye out for that one. All right, one more quickie here, and we'll get to our next guest. Aroldis Chapman thought he gave up a homer, but he didn't. Actually, there was a lot of chatter on social media about how the baseballs are carrying differently. You always get that every year because the baseballs are kind of inconsistent.
Of course.
But Andrew McCutchen gave him world-class trolling in the dugout. So you've got a little bit of that for you. Here it is. First, the not home run smashes that glove down. You played with him.
He's too much, man. What is he doing?
But he thought it was gone. And you see that sometimes.
But you don't throw your glove
At least he didn't throw it into the stands because apparently you get cut for that.
Yeah, I guess he was. Oh, and then he punched his glove. I didn't see that one. So maybe he's been frustrated with his slider lately. That's what I get out of that. But he's the best. I would have done the same thing if I was McCutchen. Make fun of his ass because he needs that, man. He needs to get put in his place a little bit in a fun way because Chappie's a serious guy, man. He punched the glove. I've never seen that with the hand in the glove and went full punch. It's a smart move. I've seen guys punch walls. I've seen guys punch water coolers. And I think he was embarrassed, first and foremost. Secondly, I think he was pissed about the location of his slider. So his slider must not be on point right now because you don't get that mad over it, especially if it was an out.
He stepped on the next one and struck the dude out on his heater at 101. So his arm's feeling good. So he probably expects himself to do that. But I know there are – next time we have a Pirate player on, I want to know how many of the young guys are legitimately afraid of Aroldis Chapman because, like, he is so awesome, but he is rarely in the clubhouse. He shows up late because he doesn't need to get ready until later in the game. So he has a routine. He's usually at the gym in the city that we're playing in, lifting. Like, he is a work horse. And so you don't really, as a young guy, you might not know how to take Chappie, but he is such an awesome teammate. I want to know how many of those dudes are afraid of him.
I got one. Ratty Telez, who comes on this show pretty frequently, was going over dress codes, and he was like, Chapman's got his own dress code because I'm not going to mess with him too much. He said it's because the clothes are really nice and expensive and all of that, but also how often can you go up to Aroldis Chapman and tell him, hey, the team's wearing this today? You know, eventually he's going to be like, listen, dude. Yeah, well, we know you. And also, actually, I would pay to watch that boxing match, Chapman versus Kratz.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I actually might throw some money down on EK. I know you feel that way, but you just don't understand. You'd have to get Kratz mad. You'd have to get him pissed.
Kratz would be ready.
Yeah, he would. All right, we're ready for our next guest. Mike Petriello joining us on FT Live. Spoke to him this offseason. Happy to have him back here for a little checkup on some stats and notes and all the great tweets that Mike puts out to the world at Mike_Petriello. Mike, great to catch up with you. Actually, quick question before we dive into everything else, just based off what we were talking about. Chapman chucks the glove, and many people on social were like, ball's not carrying the same way. I mean, you're pretty dialed in on that stuff on a year-to-year basis. Are you seeing anything different with the flight of the baseball this year versus last year, et cetera? I know it's not what was the year, 2019 or something like that, which was the opposite effect, but any chatter going on there about how the ball's traveling?
Yes. I can't say I saw that play last night because I was at the Yankee game. So I watched that one for the first time while you did, which was pretty
Humble
fun.
brag.
I got to see Louis Gilroy. It was great. So that was fun. I liked watching Chapman do that. It's a tough conversation every year, I think, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is I think in 2019 you saw that the ball was definitely flying, right? Homers left and right. I think people, not everybody, but a lot of people always try to compare partial season to full season, right? If you're going to compare year to year, you got to only compare the same time period last year because we know the ball flies more in July. Not everybody does that. I also think this conversation comes up a lot every year. And part of that, people seem to think that, let's say, up until 2015 or so, that the ball was 100% consistent since 1855 or whatever. And I think all that's changed is we just have the tools to know about it. You go back to some really weird homer years, 1930, 1987, whatever. I feel like this has probably been a somewhat inconsistent ball for like the entire history of the sport. We pay a little bit more attention to it now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, I played the 1 year and everybody said the ball was flying too far, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. It's baseball in a nutshell. Major League Baseball needs to figure it out. My question to you, I know we're a little closer to the deadline coming up. I know you're not the rumor guy or anything, but have you heard anything about, maybe some sellers, some traders, some anything going on as we move forward here?
Well, I think you're going to have maybe a little bit of an issue this year with the deadline, just in the sense that there are so many teams still within, sniffing distance of a wild card spot. I think I read this morning it was 24 of 30 teams are within 4 games. It doesn't mean they're all going to be competitors. And some of the teams at the bottom, you're just not going to get much from, right? The Rockies never want to sell. Some of the other teams, they're just there because they're not very good shape. So for me, it's you can't really answer that question yet because we're still a month away, and some of those on the bubble teams will tell you a lot more about who they are in the next couple of weeks, right? Teams you might not think would be sellers right
Yeah.
now will be later on. I really would like to think that some of those teams would be a little more aggressive about selling than they've been in the past. Like we talk, and I'm sure you guys have talked about this too, right? Pete Alonso is going to be a huge name at the deadline. Will they sell him? Will they keep him? And what I don't think enough people are realizing is because of where their payroll is, if he gets a qualifying offer and he walks, they get a 4th-round pick, which isn't nothing, but it's pretty close to nothing. So that's not really incentive to keep him. And if they're out of it, especially you've got a new president of baseball ups there in Stearns, who is new and didn't draft any of these guys, I feel like they might be a little more aggressive about it than people might think.
Okay. So how long has it been since the Royals have been this good?
Well, I guess since they were in the World Series, although it's interesting, I wrote
man,
about.
okay.
Yeah, well, listen, I wrote about them a lot. The way I put it was, I believe in them 70%, and it's like 30% fraud. And the reason for that is they right now, hey, that's the article I wrote. Thank you. The right now their bullpen has the lowest strikeout rate of any bullpen in any season since 2014. And that's no way to live. Like you cannot get through a season like that. And you're already starting to see it. The bullpen had like a 3.10 ERA the first month, and it's like 5.60 or whatever since. That's not going to work. And so what I think has happened with them is if you go back to last winter, everybody on the planet, players, nerds, you name it, everybody's like, this team's going to be better. Absolutely, this team's going to be better. Everyone agreed they're going to go from 106 losses to 89 losses or whatever, which is a huge improvement. And then the way they played the first month was you're seeing that. And then they were just a little bit extra on top of that because the bullpen maybe outperformed. So I think they're going to maybe fall back to earth a little bit, but still be pretty good, right? Bobby Witt's a superstar. We all had questions about whether Cole Reagans could stay, healthy and productive over a full season, not over a dozen starts. It seems like he's proven he has. So there's a lot to like there. There's a very weak division, but man, they got to get 3 bullpen arms who can miss bats, or they're going to have a long summer.
Is that 100% possible, or is this another Royals bullpen? Because essentially our 14 and 15 Royals team built what is now the bullpens that we see for the last 10 years. Have they hit on something? And I know the numbers are trending in the wrong direction, but have they hit on something in that bullpen because of the park that they play in? Half their games predicate you to letting the ball be put in play, different than, say, Philly, different than Cincinnati, different than, and is it something that they're hoping that's what happens, or do they just go all in with their starting pitching and they're like, we just don't have enough left unless Kelvin Herrera and Wade Davis come out of retirement?
It's an interesting point about the ballpark because you're right. It's a huge ballpark. I think the issue that they have there is their infield defense is really good, right? Witt is great. Michael Garcia is great. The outfield is not that great. Like it's one of the weakest all-around outfields in baseball. So I don't know that I would want to have a strategy where that ball is bouncing around the outfield unless they can get improvement out there on both sides of the ball. Even going back to the 14, 15 Royals that you referenced, when you had that trio at the end with Davis, Holland, and Herrera, right? Those guys were all fire-breathing bat missers, and so you can get by with a bullpen of some guys who like get weak contact, get the ground ball, and that's fine. But how many times have we seen it where it's like the dinky little blooper that falls for a hit, the ground ball up the middle, right? What was it? The end of the 2001 World Series, right? Luis Gonzalez did not crush Mariano Rivera. He just got enough bat on it. You don't want to leave that to chance. There's a batting average of 0 on strikeouts, is the way I like to look at it. And when you are in the biggest spot and you don't care about exit velocity, you just care about what kind of out you get, you need to find strikeouts. So I'm with you. They don't need to have a top 5 strikeout rate in the bullpen, but you cannot have the lowest in a decade. Like that's just not going to work.
So I want to go a little bit into bat path metrics, swing path, barrel control, all these things that you divulge into a lot. You break down, you analyze this. How are all these are going to affect the game and hitters too as well? Is this just another stat for them to look at, or is it just a piece of paper like, oh, that's great, let's move on?
Yeah, we can do this as long as we also get to talk about Asbury Park. That's where I went to my first concert a million years ago. One of my favorite places.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the bat tracking stuff is cool. I think the one thing people have maybe misunderstood a little bit is that so it's new publicly as of almost exactly a month ago, right? It's not new to the baseball industry. Some of the more advanced teams have had versions of this for 5+ years, I would guess, at this point. And some of that's in a lab, right? They're hitting labs where you got the attached, ping pong balls or whatever. And that's a little bit different than what you're seeing in a game setting, right? Your swing in a lab is different than your swing in the ninth inning against Emmanuel Clase or whatever. So this isn't necessarily new to the teams, and a lot of those teams have already made decisions based on this. I think it was 2 years ago now, maybe even 3, where the Dodgers were in the postseason and Dave Roberts made a pinch hitting decision where people were confused about. He brought in, I think it was Austin Barnes, just not a terribly strong hitter. And they're like, why did you do that? And he's like, well, his bat path, I thought, made him a better bet than, Chris Taylor's uppercut to make contact with this pitch. It didn't even work. I think he still struck out. But your teams have already started making decisions on this. What's new now is that it's public facing. So all the smart baseball people who love to do all sorts of analysis can do that. It can be on broadcasts and television. And I would imagine that some players have gone and looked at this and found it interesting. I would hope that none of them saw this for the very first time, because that means their teams haven't been giving it to them. But maybe that's true too. But really, the takeaway here is if you look at the guys who square up the ball the most, well, yeah, Luis Rise, like it's exactly who you'd expect it to be. The guys who swing the hardest, right? Stanton, Schwarber, and then out there all by himself in unicorn land is Juan Soto, who is like the only one who can do both. I didn't think I could be more impressed by him than I am. He's the only guy who swings hard. He's top 10 and has a top 10 squared up rate, which is like impossible. He's Stephen Kwan if Stephen Kwan could swing 12 miles harder.
All right, a couple things I got to hit on. You are incorrect. People that play in the game did not know this. I know there are people, and I can't say the teams because I'm throwing them under the bus, that did not divulge this information. I will not, because of the people that are on it, the easy connection. So not everybody knows this. Now, you know it in a sense of like, hey, I can tell that this guy has this type of swing. I don't like, the matchup with this high fastball at the top of the zone, his swing path, all that stuff. They know that, but not the metrics that you put out there on your Twitter page. Like, I was like, this is awesome. Like, I know. Anyway, the team is clearly where they are because of the fact that they don't give this type of information, or maybe they don't even have this information. But I want you to help that said team, because what are we not hearing about? Because a lot of fans had never really heard of this stuff. And baseball talked about it, but never used it in the biometric Hawkeye scan system stuff. What is the next wave? What is the next thing that teams are clearly already on it? Because if you're just finding out about it today, technology has known about it for at least 2 years. So what is the next wave of things that you can tell us is coming that we should pay attention to in this technology scope?
Yeah, I hate to go into pitcher talk with a pair of former hitters here, but I'll do that anyway. What teams are learning the most is, um, and you knew this obviously just by being a player and by being a human being, right? It's not one size fits all to everybody. And this is really important for pitchers where it can't just be, oh, I want everybody to throw a splitter. So I'm going to make everybody on my staff throw a splitter. It doesn't work like that, right? Some guys get it immediately, some guys don't. And so what would happen for years and years and years, you would spend weeks, months, even years trying to teach a guy a new pitch. And now you can get to that a little bit quicker because you've got the biomechanical data where it's like, I know how your body moves, right? If you all heard the terms by now, probably pronator and supinator and all that. Everybody's body moves slightly differently. And now you can get to, you're actually not a good candidate for this kind of pitch because of the way your arm moves, the way your body moves. It's a waste to try to teach you it because it's just probably not going to work. I actually think you're a really good candidate for, a sinker or whatever, some other kind of pitch. And we've seen a lot of stories of guys like that who are just using that information, to advance their careers. And to some extent, I almost think of it as like a grip tool. Like, how many stories have you heard over the years where there's a pitcher who got successful at like 29? And he's like, yeah, I tried 40 changeup grips, and then I went back to my high school, and the groundskeeper taught me one that his grandpa used, and that was the one for me, right? You can get to that kind of stuff so much faster, and I think that's my favorite, application of all this is when you hear pitchers who are successful, or players or hitters or whoever, saying, yeah, this helped me improve my game, and I wouldn't be here without that kind of stuff. And I like that a lot.
It's a great question. Hey, I have one for you based off, a recent tweet that you put out there, Mike, on Shota Imanaga, which could kind of play to this pitcher analysis, right? I mention this often in the offseason. The amount of dissension that was out there on this pitcher was as wide of a gap as I've ever seen following the game. You had people that are like, this guy could be a 1 or a 2. And then you had people that are like, he'll be out of the rotation by July when the weather warms up and balls are flying out of Wrigley. So were you as entertained as I was this offseason? And have we learned enough yet to understand that he at least will be a serviceable starter and he has the potential to be a 1 if he keeps this up? But yes, we got a couple adjustments the last 2 starts.
Yeah, I guess I don't know what he is after last night. I don't think he's going to have a 180 ERA all season long, right? But it's two things. When he signed that deal, I saw a lot of smart baseball people being like, "Really? That's it? Like, nobody else is going to top this?" That's really surprising to me, and I agreed with that. I don't think anybody put him in the same class as, Yamamoto coming over and getting this huge monster contract, but. For how desperate teams are for pitchers, especially good starting pitchers, the fact that no one was willing to go higher than the Cubs did was shocking. And obviously, we know he really liked Chicago, and maybe, I think I remember reading he turned down a bigger deal somewhere else because he wanted to be there. So fine, whatever. So I think it's partially a credit to the Cubs because they were out there when nobody else was, and it's partially maybe a little bit of dumb luck for the Cubs because we knew his one issue was going to be home runs, right? That's what his problem was in Japan. He would give up home runs. And he just sort of happened to get here in the 1 year where we've had a lower home runs per 9 than we've had in 10 years, right? Is that because of the ball? Other factors? I don't know, but it's happening. And I don't think anybody could have predicted that. So kudo to the Cubs. And also, sometimes good luck is good strategy too.
Last one from me. You wrote a cool article about some position players moving and playing different positions. Mookie Betts, Harper, Judge per se. There's a couple others as well. Which ones? And I know right now Judge is on a dominant tear. Mookie Betts is doing well. Harper as well. But which one you think has had the biggest impact on their team and moving positions?
Well, boy, I want to say Harper because I like saying he's the best all-around first baseman in baseball right now. But if we're saying biggest impact on a team, it's got to be Mookie, right? Like going to play second base and then at the very last second going to play shortstop, which is borderline unprecedented. I remember at the time I looked into it, and I can't remember exactly the way I put it, but it was like 25 guys in the history of baseball have played 100 games both at short and right field, and almost all of them were, Mark DeRosa, Ben Zobrist utility types, not exactly like position switchers like this. And for him to do it and be a pretty capable shortstop, right? Depending on the metric, he's been slightly above, slightly below, but whatever. He's not embarrassing himself there. He's been pretty good. To be able to do that for his team, where the backup plan was Gavin Lux, who, they clearly didn't believe in him as a defender. He hasn't really hit that much. That is one of the coolest things to me. Like, kind of like I said before with Soto, I didn't think I could be more impressed, right? This is kind of the thing where I didn't think I could be more impressed by Mookie Betts, but to see him do this is unbelievable. And so that's got to have the most impact, because you look at the Dodger defense, at least by the defensive metrics, everybody was really worried that this was going to be a wreck, and it's been above average, which is stunning to me. That is one thing I did not see coming this year.
Agreed. Now, from a player who was barely a big league baseball player, I got just over 6 years in the big leagues, and it was because of something exactly like what you tweeted out. The first pitch stat about Grayson Rodriguez is something that I would drool all over. Now, first pitch is just first pitch of the game, so I'll let you explain it. But you're always looking for tells like this, and this is so fascinating and exciting to me that whoever's facing him next has got to already be drooling.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I do some pregame work for the Blue Jays TV station, and so that's who Rodriguez was facing the other night. And I went, and if you don't know this about the Blue Jays, I don't think they changed this last night, but it's been an entire month since they have scored a run in the first inning, which is just obscene. So the other night, Grayson Rodriguez, who's a very good pitcher, is facing the Blue Jays, and I go on the Blue Jays pregame show, broadcast to the entirety of Canada, and I say, 32 starts for Grayson Rodriguez in his career, regular season. 32 times he has started with a first pitch four-seam fastball, every single time. And I'm pretty sure I also said Davis Schneider, who was leading off the game that night. I was like, Davis Schneider, you have to be looking for a first pitch fastball. And if you get one, you got to break this first inning skid. And not only did he get one, you can see here they're kind of all over the place, right? Schneider got one that was a strike, and he didn't pull the trigger. And I couldn't believe it. And I'm thinking to myself, well, they must not
Shame
watch
on him. Shame.
if they would have known that. And they just didn't do it. And they're not aggressive first pitch. Like the Blue Jays have a whole bunch of issues that you guys probably know about. But man, to know that's coming, and you can correct me because I didn't play, but I sort of feel like if I go up there knowing that, and this is the time he throws me a curveball and I swing at it and look like a fool, okay, like you got me. But to let the four-seamer go by for time 33, that would kill me. I couldn't do that.
Hey, last thing from me, and we'll let you go. Over, I think, your left shoulder there. What are all those masks doing over there? Yeah, what is going on with that?
He's a hockey guy. Mike loves hockey.
Yes, hockey guy. We got you can't really see it, but we got Martin Brodeur over here. Nope, gonna knock the whole thing over. It's artsy. It's cool. I love hockey.
Okay,
Mike's a diehard Devils fan.
Hey, are you?
Right.
Yeah.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
You got Jersey boys here, and obviously there it is.
Go, baby.
Yeah, we got to finish with give us something. You got to give us some nugget, tidbit, restaurant, something from Asbury Park that stands out, or the concert.
Boy, well, first there's a non-zero chance that Todd and I were born in the same hospital in Point Pleasant, New Jersey. I think.
Yes, we were. That's Point Pleasant. 100%.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm from Brick. My first girlfriend was from Tom's River, so I spent a ton of time in your town there. And my first concert, Asbury Park Convention Center, was Green Day in 1998-ish, thereabouts.
When I come around.
Yeah. So that's
very
good.
nice.
My parents still live in Brick. I go there many times a year.
Right down the street. Beautiful. Did you go to Brick High School or Memorial?
Memorial. Yep.
Nice Mustangs. Let's go, baby.
You got the mayor down here. Now you got them all excited. There we go. We're gonna have a really good last 20 minutes of this show. Mike, thank you for joining us. Awesome to have you on. Appreciate the time, and we'll catch you soon. Okay.
Right on, guys. Take care.
Thank you, Mike Petriello, with us. You can check all of his work at MLB.com. Really good articles, great analysis, and Mike's just got a unique take. But also has takes, right? It's not just numbers analysis. He'll mix in, how you actually decipher those numbers. So I've worked with him for a long time at Mike_Petriello on Twitter. What are you pointing at, your buddy?
Kratzy. We'll talk after the show.
Uh-oh.
Because his first girlfriend, Freda Felcher. Todd, Freda Felcher from Cranston? You probably took his girlfriend. That's what I wanted to say. Like, y'all were born in the same hospital. Todd took his girlfriend. Todd hits a couple little league home runs, and now he's taking Mike Petriello's girlfriend.
I don't even know
bro.
how old is Mike. Anybody know?
He's
How old
got
are you,
a
Todd?
little age on us. Not a lot, but a
27,
little. Yeah, he's not 27 anymore.
38.
I think if I had to guess, I'd put Mike in like the 40 to 42 range.
Wow, that's messed up, man.
Well, I'm not just guessing off looks.
Kratzy's
he's
closer
told
to
me.
50 than Mike, for sure.
Well, do you know how?
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Do you know how Kratz looks so young and fresh and full of energy?
I
You
do.
know. Okay, Kratz, tell us.
Because of this John right here. I mean, how can you not? How can you put this John in your life? I need it. I need it. The AG1, because there's no, like, they're testing for all those contaminants and stuff. I know what I'm getting. We're going out to Vegas. I know if Todd was going to Vegas, he would pack his AG1, maybe AG9. I don't know, but we're definitely packing 4 of these because I'm looking to smack each one of these during the poker tournament for all 4 days, and I'm going to win that thing.
You're right. I have my packs too. We'll be drinking AG1, a foundational nutrition supplement that delivers daily nutrients and gut health support and is backed by multiple research studies so you can trust what you're putting in your body. And 97 of people in a research study felt more energy after 30 days of drinking AG1. So if we're recommending one product to support whole body health, it's AG1, and that's why FT is excited to have them as a new partner. Starting your journey with AG1 is a win. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 of those neat little AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/foul. That's drinkag1.com/FOULFT fam. Go check it out because unlike other products with only testing ingredients in isolation, AG1 tests their formula as a whole. Like Kratz mentioned, they're the best in the biz in that category. drinkag1.com/FOUL. Ready to go digging in the weeds?
Hot corner.
No, in the weeds.
My bad.
Oh, hot corner?
We already got the hot corner.
I thought we did hot corner. Oh, in the weeds.
That's on me. My bad. I got excited.
There's a lot of...
The weeds are sizzling.
Yeah, behind the scenes, there's literally debate in our group chat right now about what we want to talk about next. Can I hit the Oakland stuff?
Again? There's more.
Actually, it's funny. I feel like every time Todd's on, something pops up, but we haven't talked about the A's off the field matters in quite some time. We put this up on FT Twitter this morning.
Okay.
This info coming from... what is that? The Nevada Independent, I think it's called, and Howard Stutz. But the A's have requested to play nearly 10% of their future home games away from that stadium in Vegas. Oakland president Dave Kaval claims that neutral site games will help build the team's brand and attract new players and sponsors, and there is nothing that gets them more excited than making more money. So my initial question here has to do with the fact that they put out all the numbers that they were going to rack up in Vegas as they ask for money, right? And they're like, and we're going to sell it every game. It's going to be whatever the number is, $30K per game. And that's how we're going to equal this amount of money per game that we're going to make. And then that revenue is how much, it's going to bring to the community, blah, 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 blah. Well, now we're already, before we even break ground, saying, you know what? We said all that. Well, actually, 90% of that, because 10% of that will be played elsewhere. Other places will pay us to play on the road. This doesn't seem like the right team to be asking for that. And this actually gets to my bigger problem here, because it's not just an Oakland problem. It's not just a Vegas problem. It's a baseball problem when a team is allowed to operate like this. And again, Vegas is a great market. Would love to have a team there, but this is not the right group that should be going there. And this, again, is another reason why that's a problem. They've barely done any outreach in Vegas to really let the crowd out there know that they're going to take good care of them and not kick them in the face every chance that they get, right? So before they even break ground, they're already telling them how they want to see other people. Does that make sense to you?
I'm so
Like you found your dream girl, right? Your dream cash cow, if you're John Fisher. And here's my shirt today. Anti-Fisher Baseball Club. Thank you, Last Dive Bar.
with your chest.
So you found your dream girl, and before you could even go on the first date, you sent her a text and said, I'm also going to spend some time with someone else.
About 10%.
But 10% of the time, you're still great for 90% of that. So I hope this date works out. Even if this was a thing and you want to explore this eventually, why would you talk about this right now? This is just terrible, terrible messaging to a place that is going to need to command top flight baseball entertainment to win over a city, right? There's already distrust. It's already a place that's one of the entertainment capitals on the planet. And you're telling them 10% less, most likely. Hope that's okay. What are we doing?
You love this topic.
I love this topic because every other week, something screwed up comes out of it.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't see this from many other organizations or human beings that are trying to crack open a new city, and we've already seen them do everything the wrong way for a long time now.
This is a simple case of less is more, and the stadium looks pretty cool. I mean, I'll be honest. If that's what it's going to look like, that's insane. That's about the only good thing I see out of this. Neutral site games will help build teams' brand and attract new players. I'm a baseball player. I want to play at one place when I'm home. I don't want to be going back and forth. I don't care if it's 5%. The clubhouse guys got to go different places. You got to have uniform. All this stuff, there's a lot of background information that most people don't understand. You want to get comfortable where you're playing. And me, I don't think it's a good idea. I think players would be fed up with it because, now I got to go here. Then we got to go there. I mean, I'm fed up with playing. I have to travel from New York all the way to California for 10 days. Some people are fed up with that. So I don't know. It's a case of less is more. I would just say just let it be, man, until something really significant comes up.
Right, but that's going to attract more players, Kratz, right? If you're trying to recruit a free agent and you've got such a brilliant track record as a team, you're on the phone, right? Hey, Kratz, want to come to Vegas? We've totally screwed up how baseball looks in one city. Now we're coming to another. Oh, but wait, there's more. We're also going to take you on the road more often. That will attract you, won't it?
Can I give you an example of when I went on that Bobo network and you were the host that was helping me through and it was a tryout? The question was brought up about moving the Rays half their games to Montreal or moving them to another city. And the person I was on the panel with goes, I think it's a good idea. And this might have been why I didn't get the job or other reasons. But I went like this. I went, what? I was like, and you called me out. You were like, oh, you have a feeling about this. And I was like, there is not one free agent that is going to want to sign to play in two different cities. And they're taking this. To me, this is Major League Baseball going in with their little trial pack that John Fisher is, whatever they're going to name their team, their little trial team. Hey, try this out. Because the NFL does this. The NFL gets games over in London. They get games in Mexico City like baseball does. But you know what? We can grow the game through your team, which is now in an absolutely tiny market when you go to Las Vegas. So this will help us grow the game, and we'll kind of push everything through. So you kind of run our agenda. Because clearly this was not a decision made by somebody who went to players and was like, guys, let me throw something out there. You convince your wife, after 6 years of being on the same team, you became a free agent, and she's like, hey, where are we going to play? Well, 60 games are going to be in Vegas. 21 are going to be in Nashville because Major League Baseball wants to try that city out and play some cool, fun Savannah Banana games. And we want to try Montreal because expansion is coming, so we want to try to get into those cities too, and we're willing to take a little extra to play for Vegas. Not a chance. Zero feel. This guy is a liar. He has zero feel. And I think Major League Baseball is pushing this stuff for him.
The scapegoat part is good, right? Because with them actually leaving Oakland, whether they end up in Vegas or stay in Sacramento, whatever it is really great leverage for other teams to be like, give us what we want or we'll leave. This is the next layer. I like that idea, Kratz, in terms of why this even comes out. It's, hey, let's float this out there. You do this so that we can also have our other owners tell places, we're going to play 10% elsewhere or else, right? Like Oakland's done it. It's precedent. Everything's a legal case. It's precedent. This is what Oakland's doing, or the A's, I guess. This is what the A's are doing. So other teams are going to want to do this too, right? And maybe when Nashville does get a new team, they'll be like, but when the A's moved, they agreed to 10% of their games elsewhere. So you're going to have to take that too, or we're not going to give you a team. It's just bad. It's just weird, bad business, but they are the ultimate scapegoat. And John Fisher just loves to be that guy. So keep fighting that fight. And lastly, this show has players, former players and current who join us, who give us the real conversations going on behind the scenes. This is not us saying, oh, well, it's unfair to the players that they'd have to go on the road and all that. No. We're just giving you the real analysis from a player perspective of how you land a free agent. Because there's definitely going to be a fan that's like, a player should appreciate that he's in Major League Baseball and go wherever the hell they want him to go. That's fine. That's fine.
Sure.
But if you're a team that's trying to make a mark and you promise that you're eventually going to be active in the free agent market to make your team better, and you call up a free agent, you better freaking pay him way more than the next best offer, because if you present a scenario where he's on the road more, that player is often going to go the other way. That's just a fact. That's what you're getting here. So,
yep.
Let's play batting stance.
And actually, before we put batting stance up, I'm going to say this because I want Todd to know that this Vegas stuff, Oakland stuff is like, it's important to be talked about, because the other baseball media networks are not saying any of this stuff because they're told not to. We're going to Vegas, okay? We're going to Vegas. You follow my Twitter account, at Erik Kratz 19 on Twitter. I'll take pictures of every single Oakland A baseball team coming, anything baseball, and post it on my account. And I want you to count up how many times that stuff gets posted. When we go into the city of Las Vegas, where this team is supposed to be going soon with that new, quote, rendering of a stadium.
Can't wait.
You're going to be like, did Kratz's account get hacked? Because he ain't saying crap. But we will be there. There it is. Thursday and Friday. Erik Kratz will also be our investigative reporter out in Vegas. Would you like to have a little fun for 2 minutes?
Now let's have some fun.
All right,
I'm gonna be Kratzy here. Let's go.
Let's pick out some batting stances. I like that, actually. A matchup. So if you know, on first guess, here's how it'll work. We're going to show 3 batting stances, one by one. If one of you knows it, just like Jeopardy, just blurt it out. Say the name first, right?
All right.
After that, we'll do like an every other approach where one goes and one goes. Does that make sense? Okay.
First one.
First
one to say it is good, but then the next person gets the next guess.
Yes, exactly.
I'll hit the buzzer.
Ready, go.
Oh, man. The finish I'm looking at. And this is a right-hander, so I'm not losing.
Bobby Witt Jr.
Yep. All right, that's Kratz's first guess, Bobby Witt Jr. That is incorrect, but we do have some hints that will potentially help Todd Father.
No, he can keep going. I'm lost.
I mean, the rule is you got to choose.
You can literally just
Todd,
throw
either,
a right-handed hitter
so
out
yellow,
there. And
yellow
there's
means,
hints. Yeah.
No, yeah, I got you. He's USA. I got that.
He's in the American League.
Yep.
And he's a shortstop.
Oh, so
or does that mean
yellow
he's an infielder?
What does yellow mean? I thought green.
Green is spot on.
Green is spot on. What does the green say? Because I can't see it.
It's USA.
Right-handed. Or USA. Okay, so he's from USA. He's in the American League.
Central?
No, not in the Central. If he was in the Central, it would be green.
So it means he's an infielder.
Yeah.
God. This is terrible. I couldn't even guess. What do you got? I don't know. I'm lost.
Do you want to bring in a fan?
Bring a fan in.
Go for it.
Okay, we have a couple calls for Zach Geloff.
Let's try it.
There you go. Wow, nailed it.
I would have never.
Good
I would
fan.
have never
Nicely
got
done.
that. Would have never in my wildest dreams.
Because usually when Zach Geloff's hitting ninth inning tanks, Todd Father is in his wildest dreams. It's just a fact. That's probably a team you're not like, even if Todd's having, a cold one and a late night. I watched
Jason
most of
Hayward.
Thursdays last night. But,
No.
ooh,
I was. Yeah, that's spot on, Jason Hayward.
ooh.
I couldn't get the words out of my mouth quick enough.
That was good.
It's the finish.
Yep. Well,
That's
it's the
1-0 lead.
too.
We got one more.
Still doesn't hit a ball
the
inside
length.
very well.
Yeah, you love the length. What? Of the swing.
Oh, I like this. Right.
Oh, it's the shortstop from the Cardinals, and
Say
now
it.
he's with the White Sox. I'm drawing a blank.
Paul DeYoung, I'll give that
Thank
to you.
Thank you.
I'll give that to him.
Paul DeYoung. Look at you.
Wow.
Look
Thanks
at
for the-
you,
thank
Todd.
I got you. Wow.
One for the fans, one for Todd, one for me.
Thank you.
That's a good way to call
I
it.
couldn't remember the damn.
Everyone gets a medal today.
Oh,
All right.
that's
Good job.
Let's
peeps.
let's talk about some.
Let's
Lockies.
get some Lockies because
I'm on a heater, gang, and I'm saying it. I'm on a heater.
All right, Lion,
Stay
hit
hot,
it.
Todd.
I don't care about the jinx.
No, stay hot, Todd.
Mhm. Brewers, Phillies, 4 or 5 Eastern, actually soon after this show. If you want to check it out, live streaming available to all BetMGM customers. If you're logged in and you have a funded account, you can stream it on the BetMGM app. Well, Aaron Nola action against Milwaukee. Good one yesterday. Castellanos walk-off. Who'd you say? Adames has terrible numbers against Nola?
Willie.
Because he's been hitting well lately.
Willie.
Okay.
Who else? Hold
That's a
on.
great one. It's one of the best games to watch today. And you can watch that before you watch Skeens against the Dodgers if you're just a national baseball fan chilling.
Willie 0 for 12.
But we are on the money lately. Yesterday, a little hit. We swept.
Man,
If you placed all those together, what was it?
plus what, Kratz?
15.59 or 15.53, I forget.
So if you put down a hundo, you won $1,553. That's
very nice, gang.
That's
all
a banger
around.
right
all
there.
Around.
Good job. Oh, there it is. There's the tweet. Good job, Kratz, letting everyone know.
Whammy.
I got to get on that. I haven't been doing the parlay with everyone, but I do have to support my friends a little bit more often. But I did support myself, and that worked out. Cashed it. There it is.
Selfish.
I did.
Attaboy.
120 to win. 220.
Nice, Scotty.
The Giancarlo Stanton homer late for the Yanks actually helped that cause, and the Yanks won.
Way
so,
back.
Money bags. Everybody is up. This is a very legit crew. Pap hit his little parlay yesterday. It was looking bleak. Cubs down 5-0, but it was the White Sox. So, Pap, encore.
What's up, my people of FT? Parlay Pap here. Hall of Famer Jim Rice, TC. We're giving y'all 3-game parlay today. We each giving y'all the best pick. I'm going first. I'm going with the Padres and Dylan Cease. Jimmy, who you got?
I'm going with the Phillies.
Phillies?
I got Seattle. Logan Gilbert over the A's.
Seattle. There's our 3-game parlay. Let's get that money.
You know what? That's a 3-game parlay. I thought it was like that. That's a 2-game parlay. That's a 3-game parlay.
3-game.
Okay. Yeah.
See y'all.
I swear I did the same thing in our chat. I was like, did he go 3-game parlay?
That third finger.
It's tough. Yeah, you got to. Anyway, Pap plus 313. So if you want to hit that one,
I like it.
Todd Father's up.
Yeah, I'm going simple here. No runs first inning. Nerfy Again, we heard it from Mike Petriello. Blue Jays have not gotten a first run in the first inning in almost over a month, I think, what he said. And it's going to happen again. And the Orioles are going to come on strong at the end and win by probably 2 again. So I will go no runs first inning Orioles Blue Jays game, 360 to win 300.
Boom. Kratz?
Need that. Love it. I'm going to probably the most confusing one I've gone all year. You ready for it?
Yes.
Royals money line. Plus 105. Brady Singer needs to get this Royals team back on track. I see another big game from Bobby Witt. They had the lead. The bullpen blew it. But today, I see the Royals coming out on top over Cleveland. Another good game, though.
There you go. I got the Yanks Twins again. This time I'm going over 8.5 runs. Paddock's been struggling a bit lately, and also last outing against the Yanks, that start last month, 5 earned runs, 12 hits, 5 innings pitched. I like the way the Yanks are swinging the bat. My only concern is that the Twins are going to get one in this series, and obviously it's Rodon, and they're pretty heavily favored, so you can't just go money line on that one. So I could see Rodon giving up a homer or two. Twins are a very powerful lineup. Rodon's given up double-digit homers. They're all solo shots. So I could see, a 5-4 Yanks win, something like that, or could get real crazy. It's nice weather to hit the baseball tonight. It's kind of ideal.
Tomorrow's not good weather.
Tomorrow's not good, but tonight is. So they're going to get their hits in tonight. 105 to win a hunch for me. Good luck, everybody. Once a day, you can play the free BetMGM Swing for the Fences game. A chance to win daily prizes. You play as the batter. You pick an area of the strike zone, and then you see what happens. And BetMGM Sportsbook account holders who play the game will have the opportunity to win a reward if they get a hit. Rewards include odds boost tokens, parlay boost tokens, and bonus bets, among other rewards. And all of those rewards, when you get them, expire in 24 hours. Let's slap. Hey, we got a big game tonight. We talked about it earlier in the show. If you want to backtrack and you missed it, it's Paul Skeens. And do you know it's his first night game? Every game he's pitched has been a day game so far. One smart fan in the chat pointed that out. It's like, you're right. So you get primetime Skeens. Let's enjoy games like this. I mean, this is a young dude who's thriving right from the jump. He's got the swag. He's got the repertoire. He's got the splinker. And he's going up against a star-studded, at least top of the order for the Dodgers. And Dodgers Territory will be live right after the game. So on the Dodgers Territory YouTube channel, if you want to support those people, Alana and Clint, they're our friends. So we would appreciate it if you give them a little sub and you check them out later on for the full analysis on what happened. I can give you a couple of the guests for tomorrow. Ryan Yarborough and Johnny Gomes are on the schedule, at least right now. And Kratz Hats is special today. I know that logo.
Yeah, you can see the logo the whole game. I mean, this color, it's iconic, but it's iconic because of one person. Ex-Seattle Mariner, Ken Griffey Jr. This Baseballisim hat it's fresh. And Todd is a man of the people, but he's also a company man. So I know what his score on this is going to be. It has to be A+. I mean, if you are of age to have watched Ken Griffey Jr. and his awesome swing, he had to be your favorite player.
No doubt about it. Not anything else. The kid, Ken Griffey Jr., that's an A+ for sure. Beautiful artwork on there.
I have the shirt version of that, and I wore it at the airport recently. You have the sweatshirt. I wore it at the airport for the last flight I had and got a lot of love. Where'd you get that?
I thought it was because of your chest.
What?
Like,
what's your... They were like, do you only do...
They said, forget about the shirt.
Chest, tries, and buys. And I said, I do what I want because
boys, good luck.
I don't have a game.
Good luck out there. Let's go. Bring home some money.
Let's go.
Remember, we all split it, so it's all good.
That's right. We do all. I forgot to mention, I actually played in a big tournament online last night, Kratz, and I didn't want to say anything, but I finished top 4. I finished in the money. I doubled my money.
Nice.
I forgot to mention that. Yeah, it was a wild night. One dude was just lapping the field, so I didn't have a chance. He just went all in whenever he wanted. But yeah, it was fun. Played on the BetMGM app, and we will see everyone Thursday and Friday from Vegas. Kratz, me, Kipnis joining the party. And if you want to play poker with us, look up that event. See you on Thursday. Wow, it's a trophy right there.